If the Pixel 6 Pro was Squirtle, our introduction to new look Pixel, and the Pixel 7 Pro was Wartortle with a significant improvement over the previous generation, then the Pixel 8 Pro is Blastoise, Pixel at its best. Here is why the Pixel 8 Pro is a strong contender for Phone of the Year. Let's talk about that. Hey guys, Ryan Thomas here, and it's been about 2 months since Google released the Pixel 8 Pro, meaning we've spent some quality time with it. I'm just going to say it straight off the bat, this is my favourite phone of the year, ahead of the Galaxy S23 Ultra, ahead of the Folds and the Flips. This is that phone, and at $1,000 it has to be doing something special to justify its 4-figure price tag. This feels like the ultimate evolution of the Pixel 6 Pro because you can see and feel its DNA in the 8 Pro, from the camera visor to the external design to the spec sheet to the software. It's all there. But despite these on-paper similarities, the Pixel 8 Pro is just the complete package. Gone are the cellular connectivity issues, overheating SoCs, and underwhelming battery life. This is the one we've been waiting for. Google has ironed out so many of the issues with this phone, it just feels like a class above its predecessors. In a previous video, I stated the Pixel 7 Pro was not far off the Pixel 8 Pro, but now that I've actually had time to compare the two in person, the Pixel 8 Pro is just that much nicer from a usability standpoint that I have to say, I was wrong. This thing is just plain better. When I install Genshin Impact on review devices, they usually get very, very hot. But I was shocked to find that this phone only just got warm, and that carried forward to gaming, watching video, using the cameras. It didn't feel like the Pixel 6 and 7 Pros that I'd used before, which got very, very hot when doing some fairly basic tasks. The 8 Pro's performance, again, it feels like that final evolution. Gaming felt smoother, more responsive, and the experience is more immersive because there were just far fewer stutters and hiccups. I played my standard round of Real Racing 3, Genshin Impact, COD Mobile, and then a few others, and I just couldn't fault it. I can finally say that if you game, this year's Pixel is not a bad option. It still might not be the bleeding edge of performance. Qualcomm is still a bit far ahead in that regard, and Apple is just on another level with its mobile processors, but Google is closing the gap with its Tensors to the Snapdragons. The Tensor G3's power is impressive, and it's running cooler as well, making the phone physically more comfortable in the hand. But it also seems to be more efficient because, coupled with the slightly over 5,000 mAh battery, this became a 2-day phone for me once the novelty of gaming and playing with the cameras wore off. Reviewing devices typically places a lot of strain on the phone because we're trying to test every little facet of it. But towards the end of my review period, once I'd tested all that stuff, this was a 2-day phone with mostly Wi-Fi connectivity, about 50% brightness, and about 20 minutes of Bluetooth streaming per day. It has 30 watts wired and 23 watts wireless charging, which is as quick as it realistically needs to be without topping the charts. Though I will say that the 23 watt wireless charging is limited to the Pixel Stand 2, and if you use a standard Qi charger, you'll only get 12 watts, which could be a deal breaker for you, but it certainly isn't for me. Trust me, we'll get to the cameras in a second. I just want to take a minute to talk about how well Google has balanced this phone. I am not a big phone person. However, I didn't mind dailying the 8 Pro because I just think it wears its 213 grams really well. The 6.7-inch Quad HD Plus 120Hz LTPO OLED display gets ridiculously bright at acclaimed 1600 nits in HBM mode out in direct sunlight, but up to 2400 nits peak brightness in HDR. This screen is dazzling, and it is one of the biggest upgrades Google has made to its Pixel line in a long time. The thin bezels and flat display help it feel manageable even if you don't have the biggest hands, And I think if you can appreciate a great panel, I'd recommend the 8 Pro over the 8, even though it costs that much more, because there's just that much difference in the screen. Not to say the standard Pixel 8 screen is bad, that review will be coming soon, by the way. Right, the cameras. Now, remember how I called this thing Blastoise, the final evolution of the Pixel 6 Pro? This is an area you really feel it. All the cameras are now high res. We have a large 50 megapixel main sensor with a now wider f1.7 aperture lens. We have a 48 megapixel 5x optical zoom with a now wider f2.8 aperture lens. And we now have a 48 megapixel ultra wide with a, you've heard it before, now wider f2 aperture lens. This means that all three cameras are now, from a hardware standpoint, more capable in low light. You get a shallower natural depth of field too, and that ultra-wide camera captures 4 times the amount of pixels as its predecessors. All three cameras are binning down to about 12.5 megapixels, so taking that raw resolution and extracting more information for the final shots. Google's computational photography is hard at work here, making these photos pop. There's a lovely natural contrast and color profile that really helps these images look lifelike and realistic. The pictures are detailed, sharp, and this year's Pixel Pro is the new king at capturing moving objects or subjects, even if they are diving all over the table to grab a scrap of food. The Pixel 8 Pro shines and has taken some of my favorite smartphone snaps ever. The f2.8 aperture on the long lens is great for getting some foreground blur and just adding depth to images. It makes isolating the subject way easier without having to use the portrait mode. But that said, if you do decide to employ Google's artificial blur, you won't be left disappointed. I found that even on subjects with more complex outlines like fur and hair, the Pixel 8 Pro was able to nail a convincing cutout a good 90% of the time, with a smooth focus roll-off instead of that fake-looking separation that you sometimes get with lesser systems. This chart-topping camera performance is great and all that, but Google's focus in its announcement was its AI magic. The microphone noise reduction and cool background replacements joined Google's growing list of tools in its Photos app, with a video boost feature coming later in a feature drop. Let's talk about this noise reduction then. Once you capture a video clip on your phone, you can open it in Photos, go to Edit, and then use Audio Eraser to control just how much background noise you want. It works shockingly well. I just can't help but be impressed by it. I'm going to put the kettle on. This is what it sounds like from the microphone I usually use to record these videos. I'm not going to apply any kind of noise cancelling to it. And I'm going to switch over to the Google Pixel, and this is what it sounds like with Magic Eraser in. I haven't actually heard it back yet, so I'm not sure what it's going to be like, but we will see. Just for good measure, this is what it sounds like on the normal microphone. And that background replacement feature is a little more gimmicky. It's cool and it can be convincing, but it just feels like more of a proof of concept or just a fun feature to play around with, as opposed to something practical. It feels like the first two Pixels post the Wild West period, so the Pixel 6 Pro and the 7 Pro, were just getting that hardware to work. They had landed on what they wanted the Pixel to be and just worked on improving the concept. But this feels like the finished product, the Android phone I can recommend to people looking to buy the best. It is a phone that I can say confidently actually competes with the Galaxy S23 Ultra as a complete package, and though it might not match it in raw performance or specifications, the Pixel 8 Pro's world-class hardware combined with its best ever software makes it the final evolution of this mini Pixel era. This is Google's vision for the Pixel, and what a device it is. That's it for today's video, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Google Pixel 8 Pro. Are you looking to pick one up? Also stay tuned for the standard Pixel 8 video coming very soon. Hit like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I can't wait to hear from you in the comments. I've been Ryan Thomas with Android Police, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.